Sleepless in Cheyenne. Abe and I stopped to eat at the Renegade Cafe again in Rock Springs, Wyoming, which we hit the first time heading north a week earlier. We ordered the off-season Thanksgiving special again, and were served by the same waitress. She looked at the two of us for a second without saying anything. "Where's your friend?" the waitress asked, caring less it seemed. "There were 3 of you." "We lost him," I told her. "That's too bad. So what are you having?" "We killed him," Abe added. "That's great. So what are you having?" "Oh, the usual." "I'm good," she said, "but I'm not that good. So what's it gonna be?" Abe and I were at the closing end of a 1,000-mile conversation. We talked nearly straight through from the Oakland Bay Bridge to the Rock Springs truck stop. We covered everything: friends, friendship, families, movies, religion, sex, which Abe usually doesn't like to talk about. What's kinky as opposed to retarded, like masks, Abe declared. Coincidences, dirty windshields, dead bug buildup, and gas mileage, which had never really occurred to Abe before me and Ernest had the occasion to count our fuel pennies in front of him. Abe wanted to talk about shithead, but I didn't really feel like it. It just gets to the point when you've talked with someone as much as you've talked with certain people. Talking about them eventually loses its flavor. My throat was useless after the first 10 hours, but you really can't stop talking once you've figured out how good talking for talking's sake is. Though likewise, you'll never talk again once you realize what a waste of time it is. It was pretty much clear by then. Time on road trips is supposed to not only be wasted, but somehow wasted productively. Abe wasn't a bad guy. He was just a different kind of guy. A really good guy. And a really good-looking guy, too. Abe might look a little like Tommy Cruise, but Abe looks like David. Michelangelo's David. He looks more like David than he does like Marlon. And he also looks a little like that Keanu Reeves kid, with that certain strange combination of aloof, soul dummy, and stud. What have you. It is a bit freaky how gangly and awkward and silky smooth he is all at once. He's the kind of guy even his friends can't get close to. He's the kind of guy who's had 100 girlfriends, but never mentioned even one of them to his guy friends. He just won't talk about it. In Cheyenne, in the motel room on the 2nd floor, I woke up in the middle of the night after going to bed late in the first place. The sleep was weak, and inside it a dream had spun and spiraled. Up and out of a subway station, and it felt like Davis Square, Somerville, Massachusetts, but taller and bright, like a small blonde Gotham. Bleached concrete and few, if any, windows. For no apparent reason, we slipped inside a dark, crowded restaurant and headed for the back, a shortcut somewhere. Abe got caught up with the hostesses, and I heard him say to the woman that he was worried about me and that he had to keep moving. I pushed past the cardboard produce boxes and through the back door with a big bang on the horizontal push bar. Abe stepped up next to me. Together we marched through the now dark, suddenly dark neighborhood. After a long single block, we came to Abe's truck, a different one. The hatchback was open, and then it was so dark I had no idea where we were or what we were doing there, doing whatever we were doing or about to do. There didn't seem to be anyone to visit, and then it wasn't even Abe anymore. It was just a shape moving through the open space we'd parked in. I looked at the ground, but I couldn't see very much with the shitty flashlight ahead. The person walked off through a door, but then I was thinking I was inside a house on the 1st floor, inside a big dark room. The truck was nowhere. Then I was on the ground trying to keep warm under a heavy wool blanket. And then there was a huge thud, a massive boom, a crash, a collision of one big thing with another. I was paralyzed, cold and twitching with confusion. I rolled toward what I thought was the middle of the room to get away from the outside wall, which sounded as though it was getting punched by a wrecking ball. Swung back out, but maybe coming back again to get further inside. Right after the thud, as loud, unintelligible voices started in through the darkness, a figure rushed over me. Whether I was inside or outside was then a complete mystery in the black of it. First, the thud sounded like a car or some other big thing hitting the outside wall. But then it was a tree, not a wall at all. A car hitting a tree. And in another second, we were camping in a small canyon in southern Utah. Sounds bouncing back and forth between the rocks. A more comfortable place, where I wasn't scared suddenly. Things with shape don't scare me. Invisible boundaries scare me. And flying through the vast, buzzing blackness terrifies the dying shit out of me. Getting closer and closer to the invisible wall that has no sides and no top or bottom. So you can't tell how close you're getting? Like Luke Skywalker, hurtling toward a Death Star that has no entrance and the lights are out. So you're swallowed up with only the small promise of soon smashing into the thing. I need to see what I'm up against. I function better in crisis situations when I know what the crisis is. In fact, I probably function better, period, when there is a crisis. Like when Ernie Kane is around. It keeps me on my toes. Ernie used to start fights and often finish fights. He threw tantrums, and his tantrums kept me company. The two of us used to get all messed up and hurt and cut and mad and sad, and it never mattered that I bawled in front of him and occasionally him in front of me, like when I gave him that cut over his eye with the wiffle bat. No doubt he couldn't help any of it. We were younger then. Yeah, Floyd, you turkey. All kids hear voices. He was always Capone. He made me Pretty Boy Floyd, the infamous unpretty one. Yeah, well, what were yours saying? I asked him. Really want to know? Of course I want to. They were saying kick your little butt for being such a hyperventilating giggler all the time. Not to mention such a crybaby. Oh, I said. He had a point. So you did. So I did, yeah, so I did. Oh, so I worry about the past a little bit, and I worry about the future a little bit. It keeps me safely in one place, stuck tongue-tied in the middle. I am the muted manic, whose demons aren't as easily detected. He doesn't let them talk as much anymore. I aim so desperately to be that man of few words. Mellow, mellow. Oh yeah, man. Mellow, mellow. A man of mystery and romance. A man on a mission. Abe was driving good and fast on Interstate 80 east through Nebraska with just about 400 miles to Omaha and the far end of the state near the Missouri River. We'd been eating the lighter meals since we lost Ernest. I was feeling like a slightly tighter machine already. A couple of jogs with Abe, and overall a little less greasy. We passed a sign, Kimball 10, Sydney 50. And with it came a little peace of mind, peace of place. To see this kind of marker occasionally, instead of only those that insist on telling you what's 400 and 500 miles away. Who cares exactly how far Des Moines is from the middle of Wyoming? And the signs don't just indicate mileage out here. Rather, next 400 miles, totally bleak and flat. As in the car dealer's showroom, the inside of the vehicle was suddenly more scenic than the outside world.